Hello, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you here on a beautiful afternoon in Colorado. And I am here with a new dear friend of mine, Steve Andrews. And this is, well, just as we said it was going to be, connecting and thriving in challenging times. We want to thank you so much for giving us your attention here today. And I'm already, yes, there we go. I'm already behind the times. I'm already behind the time. There we go. We're going to catch up with the time here, folks. If this is your first time with us, please know we like to have fun on these types of webinars. So you might hear a joke or two along the way. But we're going to ask you to be here now. If you have other things turned on, cell phones within reach, put them out of reach. Maybe drop them in a drawer somewhere. If you have extra computers on or other monitors on, as I know many entrepreneurs and many very busy spiritual leaders do, we invite you to turn those off as well, because what we're going to do is, well, I'm going to introduce you to, as I was saying, one of my new greatest friends, Steve Andrews. He is a wizard in the world. Steve, I got to tell you, last week we got on the phone call, and you were speaking Greek to me as far as I was concerned. You were off in AI land, and I wasn't even catching up with you. And I'm not used to being the guy that doesn't know what the conversation is. I'm usually pretty solid on what the conversation is. So most people watching today probably know me, but let's help them to get to know you just a little bit more.
Hi, well, I'm Steve. I always say I'm reluctantly spiritual. I kind of fell into spirituality through many different ways. I feel like it's been slapping me around the face for years, but I just stepped down after about 3 years on the board of the Amani Center, which is a non-affiliated New Thought Center here in Northern California. We have a couple of friends at the CSA and the CSL and in the area, and but this one is one my wife found. She was big into yoga and meditation, and she was like, "I wonder if there's a church where we can go and meditate." And there we are, New Thought. But for me, I've always been a positive thinker, been in high vibes, had things pass through my parents. You know, if everything hasn't worked out, it's not the end, right? Everything will work out, and all these sorts of things have always been there for me. And yeah, so I've been on my spiritual journey probably for only about 5 or 6 years at this point. But yeah, and aside from that, you know, I own a seven-figure marketing agency. We help people thrive. You know, someone recently, an astrologer who's from Colorado, actually, or lived in Colorado for quite a while, said I'm kind of like the Quincy Jones of entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs. So I'm known, but the people that I help are known more. And so I love that. I love that. One of our practitioners was doing some spiritual mind treatment with me once, and she said, you know, you're here to make an impact, which is, you know, we'll get to talking about the Impact Marketing Collective later, but that's something that's there. So as you can tell, I'm from Louisiana. That's my ongoing joke. But I've been here now 15, 16 years in Northern California, and it is not sunny here in Northern California. It's kind of gray. We had a fake spring. Last week we got into the 70s and it was beautiful and there's blossom on the trees. And then we had some rain this week before hopefully we'll go into springs in earnest in the next week or so. So I don't want to keep talking about me too much. I'm here for you guys. So let's move on. So I want to say, you know, you're in the right place here, and thank you for joining us. If you, you know, desire to grow your spiritual community, you know, one thing I like to do is know who's here. I see Sherry, you're here. I'm sure Robert knows who you are and where you're from, but drop where in the country you're dialing in from today. Dialing in. God, I am in my 40s. I have the baby face, but I used to dial in. Where are you dialing in from today? Put your answers on a postcard and send it to this PO box number, right? Do you remember those days, Robert?
I do, yes.
Dialing in from Canton, Ohio. Beautiful. Heather doesn't remember. I know Heather. She's a younger one. So you're in the right place if you desire to grow your spiritual community. You're in the right place if you've got goals to increase what you do, you know, to expand your reach. Oh, Kelowna, British Columbia. I love that. I've known a few people from that space. Oklahoma City. Okay. I've been to Oklahoma City. I did a tour of Texas and Oklahoma in a week in a former life. Chicago, awesome. Coming in from YouTube there as well. Nice to meet you, Carl. Love seeing you guys in. And another Colorado, Eamon in Colorado. I really need to get to Colorado. I've only ever been to the inside of the airport, but I count that on my list of 28, 30 states I've been to. So
we're going to get you to Colorado because you need to. In Colorado, springtime is a very unique time. It's either winter in the morning and summer in the afternoon, or it's the other way around.
If Oklahoma City's anything like Texas, I've been to Texas, and they tell me you can have all 4 seasons in a day in Texas. So. But yeah, you're in the right place if you want to know how to connect with more people, and ultimately in a time where people are stepping away from connection. It's something we did this webinar on Thursday. This will be nothing like the one we did on Thursday. So if you're here for a second time, I'm sure you're going to get a fresh take on it. But I feel that people need connection more than ever. And we often get into these echo chambers on social media where we only hear one thing. And often that can be a place that we don't want to be, even in that echo chamber that we've fallen into. Funnily enough, just thinking about this sort of thing, my 9-year-old, I have a 9-year-old, and we're reading Harry Potter together, and I won't let her watch the movies until we've read it. And she keeps watching clips on YouTube, and she's like, well, they keep coming up. And I'm like, you keep watching them. That's why every time you watch one, they're going to show you another one. And it's the same thing with positive or negativity that we slip into in the world online. But with all that aside, if you're looking to connect with people and maybe bring them into your echo chamber where they can be filled with positivity, you're in the right place for this. And we have a Marianne Williamson quote here that just felt really right for what we're doing here, which is, when you expand your mind, you expand your community. The more you grow in love, the more love you attract. And that's what this is all about today. We're here to talk about taking advantage of this opportunity to show people that they have a home that they can connect to, that maybe isn't in that same traditional religious space, but can help them grow and be surrounded by a positive community in a time which is pretty difficult for many people.
Yeah. And just before this, I was on a call, and the group agreed that through the pandemic, and now as we move beyond the pandemic, ministry is in a unique space, and leadership of all forms is in a very unique opportunity and a unique time. And we're here specifically today to talk a little bit more about spiritual leadership. And I want to make sure we don't forget our spiritual experiences and practices in this, folks. But before we do that, Steve's going to tell us just a little bit more about what we're going to learn. And I want you to know this is a really, really special occasion because I think, as you'll hear a little bit later as well, Steve and I have kind of been predestined to become soul brothers, as it were. And you're going to hear more about that later. But this is why we're here. Let's check in on what Steve, fill us in. What are we going to learn today?
Yeah, if you want to pop up that slide there for me, that would be amazing. So we're going to show you how to show up consistently to build trust and engagement. Just as we're talking about online being a crazy place right now, trust is at an all-time low. We can't trust media. We don't know which media is batting for which side. Everything's kind of crazy right now. There's sensationalism going everywhere. So building trust is really important. We're lucky enough to work with a coach, and he described the way that our business operates, which is what we're going to bring to you today, on oxytocin. So instead of dopamine and chasing the headlines and chasing the crazy energy and, just dopamine high, dopamine low, dopamine high, dopamine low, we're going to help you build oxytocin. We're going to help you build hugs with people and, the mother having a newborn baby on her. We're going to build that connection and help you do that. We're going to talk about nurturing your congregation while welcoming new people into that as well. Because, as entrepreneurs for years, we've talked about the money being in the list. And, I think that the connection is in the list when it comes to spiritual centers. And that could mean tithe, it could mean talents, it could mean time, all of these things that we look for as spiritual centers to bring in from people, but it's about connecting with them. Power of interactive experiences to foster belonging. and how to speak directly to the spiritual needs of your community. We're going to talk about all these different things that we can do and help you do that and bring that to your spiritual centers. And just again, I love interactivity. So if I see where everyone's from. Are you primary ministers at a spiritual center? Let me know that, or what your role is if you're here with the board, etc. Just drop that information for me. As I said, I am newer to spirituality and New Thought. I love being in this space. I've always been reading personal development books. We had someone in our congregation whose sister said, "You read too many personal development books." I'm not sure you could do that. I know, right? I've got a shelf around there, and I've got most of them digitally, and I'm just like, I think I might have to put these away, but I kind of feel sad for doing so. But anyway, I'd love to. I'm learning more and more about the New Thought space. We are an Anton member and have been involved with that side of things, and have had experiences through Mitch Austin, who's not here tonight, but who introduced Robert and I, and have had experiences with the CSAs and CSLs and some great people in the space. So we almost did some marketing work for Mary Morrissey. We were having a conversation. We might be looping back around with her daughter at some point as well. I know everyone knows that name. So. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, I want to be part of that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing Mary at a Big Sky retreat, and she had on a dress that must have had like an 8-foot wide skirt to it. At the bottom, the dress flared, gorgeous red dress, and it flared out. It must have been at least 8 foot wide. I don't know how she made it around the ballroom that
night. That's crazy.
All right, folks. And in the introductions, let's do just a moment. I'd like to bring an invitation forward to get us started. So if you're in a comfortable and safe space to close your eyes, I invite you to do so. If you're not, please do not do so. But if you are, just go ahead and shut down for a minute. Take in with a deep breath everything you've heard so far. Let yourself kind of root in. Get into that learning consciousness, that receptive consciousness. Feel your heart beating in your chest and come to that deeper recognition that everything is okay. Everything's whole. Everything's happening just as it must. And you've been called into this space today to learn something new, or perhaps see something you've known from a new way, in a new light. Ultimately, we are here to learn to amplify the light that we are, to shine the light that we are into the storm, into the day, into all that we do. We're here to be a voice of reason and authority in what is arguably a chaotic time. See, what we know is that at the core of your work is a very simple truth. People come to you seeking peace. They seek a place where their worries can rest, where their spirit can be uplifted, and where they can remember who they truly are. As leaders, we know peace isn't just something we give, it's something we must embody. And so I want you to know that today is not about adding more to your plate. It's about simplifying, centering, and reconnecting to what truly matters. It's about discovering ways to strengthen our community, not by striving harder, but by standing more deeply in the presence of peace. Because when you are cultivating peace within, you naturally share it with those around you. With another breath, when you feel ready, feel free to bring yourself back into the room. And just open your eyes.
Thank you for that, Robert. It's always good to center in this sort of time, and that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And folks, ultimately, we have three things that we'd like to share and teach with you today, all around how to connect and thrive in challenging times. And the first here is really around heart-centered connection. Steve started to speak of that, and we'd like to anchor that in a little bit more for you. So, heart-centered connection. The heart of any spiritual center is the people. I've said that long, and I know you've said that for a long time as well. And really, connection, as much it is about gathering in physical space, it's also how we gather and connect outside of the physical space in moments of deep resonance in ways that extend beyond a single interaction. Steve spoke earlier of calling on the phone. And in the old days, that's what we did. Somebody called and we picked up the phone. Today, we don't pick up the phone so much. And so what we want to share with you today are ways on how to create a warm, welcoming experience for first-time visitors and help them to turn into lifelong members. Simple ways to use storytelling and personal testimony to strengthen trust and engagement, and how to cultivate a thriving community that connects, and whether you're gathering weekly, monthly, virtually, or periodically, however that might be. Steve, I believe you're sharing step 2 with us.
I absolutely am. Absolutely am. I'm just, in that moment of heart-centered connection and just truly thinking about it as well. It's it's something that people need right now, and it makes me think about vulnerability. Brené Brown speaks a lot about vulnerability, and love me a bit of Brené Brown. And I think in a world of polished, we're ready to not necessarily always be that, but provide people the opportunity for those sorts of things. So, moving on, I'd like to talk a little bit about expanding your community with ease. It doesn't have to be work, and it shouldn't be work. Funnily enough, most of us are great at our own spiritual practices, right? We talk about treating and moving our feet, and we try and do that in our personal life. But as centers, we're not so good at doing that. And as building communities, we treat for the people we want to come in, we manifest the people we want to come in. But when it comes to actually going out there and taking the steps in the right direction, we don't do that as much as we should. And I think that now is the time to do that. Certain groups of people isolated more so than ever, rejected by people who are coming out and happily speaking against who they are and their identities. And we as a religious organization, as a spiritual organization, have always accepted these people. But they're looking for homes right now. And there's plenty of people who are disenfranchised and disillusioned with any religion because of the connotations that come. And while that might be the case, I believe what we do transcends any religion and comes to, positive living, right? We were formerly known as the Spiritual Center for Positive Living, and that's why I'm so on board with New Thought. And my mind expands it into, the light, the universe, spirit coming through all of us, just as it came through many of the people that other religions will look up to as their leaders. But that God, that universe, that spirit comes through everybody. But we need to be out there, and we need people to see our light, and so they can be attracted to our light. And so it's about setting up systems in place for doing that, inviting new souls in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming, but opens them up to opportunity. And then once they come in, keeping them connected, keeping that community. And these are things that we need to do. And their work, but it's our spiritual work. It's our spiritual journey to do these things. At the Imani Center, which is peace in Swahili, we started a full moon ritual over 2 years ago at this point, and it's one of my most favorite things to do. You know, Sunday service, Sunday experience is fantastic, but the full moon ritual enables us to become so introspective, to look at ourselves, to look at what's going on with ourselves. And it's taking that central message and personalizing it in a way that helps you to go out and live that way. And I think that's something that we as spiritual people really need to do right now, in these challenging times. And there is, one of the things that my wife and I are running a Universe Has Your Back workshop this weekend. It's a way of bringing people into our community. There's so many people who are dipping their toe in spirituality and new thought. And it's crazy because honestly, we just need better marketing, a better marketing team behind us in general, because Tony Robbins, Gabrielle Bernstein, Deepak Chopra, they're all out there practicing new thought practices. They're making millions, if not billions, in the case of Tony Robbins, in this space. And we're practicing the same thing that you can come into for a little bit of your tithe every month, or, $10 in the basket on a Sunday. And we're doing those same things. And people need to know that that's there for them and that they can go away and step in. So the reason we're doing The Universe Has Your Back is it's a very popular book that will bring in new people who are in that space, who are ready to grow in different ways. And they're simple ways to add things to your community. And all these fun things like sound bowls and things like that. There's so many different ways to expand your community, but it's bringing people in.
I think, Stephen, in my 20 years now of leadership in New Thought, I hear so much of what you're sharing in so many different ways across time. How do we attract new people? All we need is more marketing. And wonder where I might find a good marketing company around. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, folks. But and that's part of the work you and I have been doing, is identifying those places where we see overlap and commonality in how to help a community grow with ease, gently. And not be coming from that sense of striving and, we got to go out there and capture a new audience. And even recently, I've heard a spiritual community that uses the language of what is our target audience. And we've joked about this before. I don't want anybody to call me their target. I want to be right. I want to be the ideal person to come in to and that is, I believe, as leaders, what we all really want as well is, we know it's not about just putting butts in the seats, but it's about being in a place and being that factor that makes people say, hey, I want to know what you have a little more. I want to be a part of what you're doing. And we want to bring in the people that are ready to make change, that are ready to be a part of something. And those are the conversations Steve and I have been having. One of the other things that we feel is really, really important in all of this is our ability to build spiritual resilience. And we know holding space is a sacred calling. And we also know that if you give everything you have to it, it can easily slip away, where there's nothing for the family and there's nothing for yourself. Over my time in New Thought, burnout is it shows up in so many ways and in so many people. And it was actually just yesterday, I was joking with my wife that Monday is sort of my down off day, or my down day, my day off. Now, it doesn't mean that I didn't put in a good 4 hours worth of work yesterday. And ministers know that. Spiritual leaders know that. Coaches know that. I also joked in a meeting, someone announced that they were letting go of their pulpit ministry, and jokingly said, so I won't be working 40 or 50 hours a week any longer. And I jokingly said, right on, come over to Focus Ministry where you can work 60 or 70 hours a week. And we all laughed. And and one of my good colleagues chatted to me like, that better be a joke. Right? We all laugh, but unfortunately it is too often the reality is, because of our desire to serve, because of this deep need to serve, we want to be able to do that with strength and with grace, and that means organizing simple tasks. That means giving away the things that you don't need to be doing. It means maintaining a spirit-led approach and still ensuring that practical needs of your organization are met, because the newsletters got to go out, and somebody needs to clean the bathrooms after service on Sunday afternoon. Steve, I'm sure you're in a you're kind of moving away from pulpit ministry a little bit at the moment, which is kind of good for you. But I did my time in I say it that way. Sorry, I did quite a few years in pulpit ministry, not as a minister, but as a volunteer, and I know how difficult, and in leadership, but um, ministry was later. And I know how difficult it can be to keep those lines of communication open, how it is that we can find a way to work together. So, we do also like to share this great quote. Steve pulled this one up for me, folks. And oh, now where did my thing go? There it is. A rising tide lifts all boats. As we help others heal and grow, we heal and grow. And it's Gabrielle Bernstein that brought the second half of that. The first half is attributed to JFK, and but I've said that a lot and for a long time. A rising tide lifts all boats. So I want you to take a moment and imagine, what would it feel like to lead from a place of true, complete, absolute peace? To have the time and the space to focus on the deep work of spiritual leadership without getting lost in the sometimes literal noise of logistics, administration, outreach, and landscapers. It happens. So what we've done is we've explored ways to create deeper connection, help you grow your community with ease, and hold space for resilience. But we all know the truth is, peace isn't just something we teach, it's something we structure our lives around. And that includes the systems that we put in place to support this sacred work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know how it is with the Imani Center. Who's got the password for this? Who's the two-factor on that? Who's got the Imani phone? How do we get into Stripe? Who's got access to the Google Drive folder? Oh my goodness.
And spirit forbid if you have two accounts on the same platform for different uses, and I get logged in as different people at different times because of things like that. It can be a confusing world, Steve.
Mm-hmm. It can, and it can be incredibly overwhelming. And my wife has stepped into a director role at our spiritual center here, and even just trying to get her started with LastPass and all the issues around these sorts of things, it was crazy. And so, having systems in place has just made things a lot easier. And juggling communication, who's doing this, who's doing that. And it's important for all centers. We as busy humans, my wife had it this week. She's like, "Oh, I've double booked us on Thursday afternoon," and it's because we're busy. There's a lot. We get more messages than ever: Slack messages, text messages, emails. Then 17 different social media platforms that we're meant to be on now as spiritual centers as well. It is absolutely overwhelming to do all these sorts of things. Yeah, and we're expecting volunteers to do that a lot of the time. Board members, volunteers who are doing these things. And it's overwhelming. But if we don't dedicate energy to it, if we don't put any focus on it, nothing's going to grow. That's kind of a little bit of what we're facing, we know other centers are facing, and it's kind of what brought Robert and I together. So
Yes.
and so, with that, imagine having everything in place to support you or your center's goals. We had this, we're finalizing putting in some iPads as you walk into the center. So there'll be a stand as you come in with an iPad that says new here. Click here to join our email list, join our volunteer list, sign in for kids church, kids club, whatever you want to call it here. All of these sorts of things in one place as people come in, and everything linked into a system. Want to tithe, set up a tithe. You want to do this automatically. Having the ability to have systems that do these sorts of things just makes life easier. And so just imagine that. Imagine, newsletters going out on time, and no fussing around for passwords. Before we had systems in place, it was, oh, wait a second, it's the 10th of the month and we didn't send the newsletter out for this month's activities. We've lost a third of the month already because of this. Or who's meant to be writing the intro for the newsletter, and who's going to be coming in to do these sorts of things. It's insane what we have to do. But also, we are lucky to be able to go out and reach out and connect with people and be that source of light for people. And we need to make sure that people remember that we're there for when they come back. So often we see people step away when things get tough, and it's not something that's unique to New Thought. There's a certain keeping up with the Joneses of being in any organized group, but it's those times when people need to know that they can come to us. And maybe it's not into a main Sunday service. Maybe it's to a smaller group. Maybe it's to have spiritual mind treatment offline, but to lean in those difficult times, challenging times that we were talking about. So imagining everything in that space, and what we came together and created is a well-designed, heart-centered system that's not just a tool, but it's a way of furthering the ministry, the work that we do. So, with that in mind, let's take a little look at the system that we've put together, and then talk about how Robert and I have come together to work. So let's start with that. Right now you've got a couple of different options in terms of how do you do this? Many of you are probably using MailChimp. You probably use Stripe for some things, use PayPal potentially for collecting donations. You probably have multiple Gmail accounts. And if you are really taking advantage of the technology out there, you probably have some sort of text message system that probably you cobble together. And if you don't have these are all systems that you should be putting in place, should being that operative word, but to be in that space where people are. We polled our congregation and 80% of people wanted text messages so they didn't forget about things. That's the reality. And it's not like we're trying to sell something hard or anything like that. We're providing spiritual support for people. And so people want those messages. They want to remember when it's the spaghetti night fundraiser, or when there's the work group on connecting in thriving times, or class in miracles is coming up, course in miracles, sorry. All of those sorts of things coming up. So, you have the difficult route, which is go and put it together yourself, or you have the easy route, which is, two people in the space have come together, and along with my incredibly talented team, we have crafted and put together an easy solution to help bring everything together. And so moving it through this, let's introduce Robert and I and what we are looking to do here. So I'll talk a little to it, and then I'll let Robert riff off me because he's so good at doing that. But I've had a marketing agency for years, and we're a premium marketing agency. People pay us good money for working with us, but obviously we know that our work is beyond financially driven. We're here to help. We're here to make an impact, and we feel we can help spiritual centers, New Thought, churches, however you call yourself. I know that we always dance around the language of God, spirit, church, religion, etc. But with all that in mind, we came together to do this. Robert had great experience in the video side of things. Obviously has the New Thought Media Network, which does phenomenal work and put some great content out there for it. And me coming in with the marketing and an AI and connecting with customers and building ongoing relationships. So we came together to form what we're calling the Impact Marketing Collective, which I believe is the only marketing collaboration that is specifically for New Thought ministers, New Thought centers, and those, in the New Thought space. If, you may be here and you might not have a ministry right now. I saw Sherry looking to set something in Massachusetts. I saw Lynn has recently stepped down, but looking for a new senior minister home. And so, this is absolutely a system that could be used by an individual coaching people. In fact, we have people who are using it in such a way. And it has so many functions that you can use for those sorts of things. And so, Robert and I came together, and maybe Robert, you can just talk a little bit more. I may have stolen most of the thunder on that. Loving the sound of my own voice this morning, evidently, but you're muted.
I'm muted there. Excuse me. I will say that every time we're together is a wonderful opportunity to get to know each other a bit more. And I'd love to take just a chance to let folks understand a little bit more of how much this is a divine appointment. New Thought Media Network is about to celebrate our 5th anniversary. And from the very earliest days of this organization, in this community, in this network, I knew the day would come where we needed to start instituting some real marketing efforts. It's been a little bit longer than I ever wanted to see or anticipated. And we started with an idea. That this can work, that people would enjoy this type of content, that people would rally behind sharing the New Thought philosophy and movement through virtual media. And we've been doing all the things Steve has been talking about. We've been cobbling it together. We've been two-person authentications back and forth, people getting logged out and missing programs because nobody was available to log them in. We've gone through all of that. And all the way along, I kept my eye on the day is coming. The day is coming. Well, that day came not quite a year and a half ago now. I was sitting out on a patio of an Airbnb at Unity Village, and I was sitting with, as we've mentioned, our good friend Reverend Mitch Austin. And in the middle of the conversation, Mitch said, "I got a guy you got to meet." And I said, "Oh yeah, who's that?" He goes, "This guy's name is Steve, and he makes influencers." I said, "Huh?" He said, "He's got a marketing firm and he makes influencers, and he works with people to make a lot of money, and you should be an influencer and you should talk to Steve." Okay. As businesses and as ministry is, things got busy, and it took a while before Steve and I actually got connected. And then it took a little while before we actually were able to put together a conversation. But as I've said already, it felt like a cosmic brother immediately when we started chatting and conversing and talking. And from both sides of the current spectrum of spiritual leadership, Steve was a board member with the Amani Center, a physical community. I'm all virtual. And we realized we were talking the same language in some ways, and we were each bringing something unique to a partnership that could really create something, well, we believe transformative. And Impact Marketing Collective is you never know, might change names. You know how spirit works, but we've been operating under the name of Impact Marketing Collective, and it speaks to our desire to make an impact with this movement, with this philosophy through New Thought. We want to be clear and we want to be spiritual about our marketing efforts. And we also want to be able to rely on each other. We come back to our key phrase of a rising tide lifts all boats. And so part of this is that collective nature, that you have others using the platform, and we can turn to colleagues that speak our language for support, as well as our normal traditional avenues of technical support and other ways of training and tutorials and all that stuff. We want to build a community that is not about marketing, but understands the power and the necessity and the true transformational nature when we bring our spirituality to it. And so in our conversations, it became evident to me, Steve is the guy I trust at this point. Steve is the guy that I am looking to for guidance in this regard. And New Thought Media Network has been using the platform for a number of months now. I've been teaching myself and learning how to do things, and in the nooks and the crannies of my time, and so it's been a real great journey. And I can't think of anybody, truly, Steve. I can't think of anybody that I've ever met that I would be more excited to introduce to my New Thought friends than yourself. And you're not even outside the New Thought movement. You're like fully involved in the New Thought movement. I can't think of a greater partnership at this time to bring New Thought Media Network together and to bring your organizations together and create something new, the Impact Marketing Collective, that we want to be clear is an LLC, is an independent business. We are not set up as a nonprofit at this point. However, we are working almost exclusively with nonprofit organizations. But if there's a for-profit company or bookstore or others that can use and are part of this philosophy or doing this work, that's what we're here to do: create community and good spiritual marketing. Steve, what am I now forgetting?
Nothing. I think maybe hit the next slide, which kind of talks about some of the services that we have between us. We're going to show you this system that kind of brings everything together, but between us, we're here to support you in many different ways. One of the big new areas is AI, and while it may feel overwhelming to many people, I think, Robert, we should probably set up a webinar on AI for New Thought. Probably that should be our next thing, because it's very easy to miss the point of this. And it's very easy to be very surface level with AI in terms of write me a blog post or write me an email. Give me an outline for my talk.
It's not replacing our jobs, I can tell you that. No.
Not the way most people use it.
It just adds more to the plate if you don't use it right.
Right. And there's so much we can do, I know we went through a rigmarole to get SOPs in place before AI was a thing. And I know many centers need those sorts of things. What does volunteer SOP look like? What does it look like for an event? What does opening the center look like? What does closing the center look like? Even co-creating those things. I love to go to ChatGPT or AI and say, I want to co-create with you. It feels like I'm working with Spirit almost. It's Spirit is working through that AI, and we co-create together and create some amazing things. We should do that, Robert. I hadn't. That's a download. That's something we need to put on. Maybe when you're back from after the thing that's coming in the next couple of weeks, but maybe towards the end of March, we should do that. I think that would be amazing. But we're here, AI, copywriting, social media, and we're in a space that we're looking to make these things affordable so we can support you in these sorts of things. These are packages that would literally be potentially tens of thousands of dollars if working with our agency directly. But obviously we know that that's not this space. That's not where we are. We're here to make an impact. Our social currency is essentially in helping you guys grow, in helping this community grow. And I think that so much as we're asking you to potentially invest in a software to help to do these things, we're asking you to invest in an idea of a collective of marketers, or spiritual people who are committed to marketing and growing their center and operating their center more efficiently. Just one thing that people always, I love talking about AI, but I've seen Spirit. Well, I've seen non-spiritual people upload all of their bank statements to AI and have it analyze the spending. And so doing something like that, anonymize your statements first, but so many things you can do with AI that can make your life really easy. You can identify your top tithers. You don't need to put it into an Excel sheet and sort everything out and summon everything like that. It can all be done for you. Even reformatting data and things like that. And I would love to teach you guys how to do that, because I know it's going to save you so much time in what you do. But in any case, I want to roll on and talk about the rule your business, which is going to be your spiritual center management platform. And it's just one of the ways that we can support you. And it almost becomes that central hub for everything. So here you can kind of see a screenshot from that, here's what we're here to do. We're here to help you connect, uplift, and thrive, and create a digital sanctuary for spiritual leaders. I spoke earlier about walking in and an iPad being in front of you and being able to get on the email list easily and being updated and capturing every name that comes in a door. Because ultimately that person who comes in, maybe they came in and your main minister was having an off day, but come invite them back for something else, and they could easily come into your community and love it. Or maybe they see the recording that you send out of that other minister that came to speak, or your minister on their top day, and who knows whether you're able to re-engage that person and bring them in the future. So let's take a look at the platform and take a look at a couple of things that we set up. So this is a platform that's 100% customizable, and we set it up in that way for you. But with that in mind, I was going to get my screen share going. I'm not quite as sleek as Robert. Robert's the pro doing these sorts of things. So it's nice to have a pro to work with on these sorts of things, and we can help with streaming these side of things. But this is the back end of a platform which is 100% customizable. But so much as talk about features, I want to talk to you about some of the benefits. So some of the things that we set up in here for you to look at. So for example, here's what a donation form might look like. You can obviously customize this yourself. The platform integrates with Stripe or PayPal on the back end. So you can set it with Stripe. I think they do a 1.9% for nonprofits, as opposed to the 2.9 to 3.5% they offer for a for-profit business. And you can set up a form here that people can just simply hit that iPad and press a button. And it doesn't have to be an iPad. You can just send them to your website for the same thing. Just putting that out there. For me, it's like, how do I have something in front of them? I don't want a piece of paper that I then have to read their writing and put their email into a list for. So you can pick up a reconditioned iPad for a couple of $100 and put it there. But then have the ability, okay, do I want to make this a recurring donation and do it on a monthly basis? And set up the amounts here, and you can choose all of these amounts as well to influence people in the right way. We might start at 25, 50, and 100, depending on which sort of area you're in. And you have the ability to set up campaigns and things like that. And this is just one thing. Everything here is 100% customizable. I want you to know that. But we just wanted to kind of inspire some of the thoughts, some of the things that you could do here with something like this as well. Have another thing here for an event. So instead of using an Eventbrite or a tool like this, same system that you're using Stripe on the back end for, but you can set up an event management system in here, so you can know who's coming to an event. It could be a class. We'll show you a little bit more of that side of things as well if we have time today. Another thing that, when Robert and I were talking about was children's church. Many people don't handle this very well. And we spoke about it inside of Amani, that what happens if there's a custody order or something like this. We just don't have that information on file. And if you don't have organized children's church, these sorts of things around things, you don't know what allergies and things like that. So we just set up a basic example of a form here that you could check a child in with, so that you have that information, and you could literally have a parent scan a QR code and check their child in, and then have one of your staff members check them out afterwards so that you know that they're gone. Moving in, there's the ability to, this is such a game changer. So we have an e-commerce, like a store function in here, and it will integrate with Printful or Printify. I forget which one it is, but they're both much less. You can literally put your logo, and you can put it on a coffee mug or on a tumbler or on a shirt, and you can set it up so that people can go and order it. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. You obviously pay pay for the product when it's bought, but it's a simple way to add those sorts of things and build that community around, everybody welcome, and then the name of your church or something like that. It's such an easy way to monetize. We're going to talk to you about the price of this system, but you should easily cover it with what you're going to put through it in terms of the opportunities. Here's an example of just like a new person coming to the center, putting their name, their email, their phone, how they prefer to be contacted, any interests they have specifically around things here. It's a great way to understand, the world of AI is as much about data collection as it is about data generation. I want you to breathe that one in a little bit, because it's something that's really important. As ministers here, you're writing sermons, talks, whatever you want to call them. You're creating content all the time. You want to keep that, because ultimately then in the future, you can train AI to speak the way that you wrote that. So if you're someone who writes out their sermon and practices it, you are already 2 steps ahead of everyone. You start to upload that information, and then you can be like, okay, I want to teach on this universal truth that the journey is the destination, for example, and then here's how I've written before, here's some of my life experiences, and you can start to get towards those sorts of things. The more data you have on people, the better. The more accurately you understand someone, the better. Robert mentioned the word target customer, which is it is kind of brutal, but it is very scientific. It's very rather than welcoming. But when we think about who we want to attract, as we start to attract them, we want to be able to understand what makes them tick, what will bring them back. So even, knowing that they're potentially interested in workshop, knowing that they're a mum because we see that their kids are at the kids' shirts, knowing that they tithe $100 a month. And if we're trying to raise that, we might be able to say, hey, you're doing 100, could you 120? Having those conversations with people and being able to do those and manage people becomes a big piece. And then let me carry on kind of going through some of the things here. So here's an example for a volunteer sign up. So, what days can you show up? What days can you be here? Any sorts of events, all of these sorts of pieces come together in this space. And then kind of moving in, we have the ability to set up an appointment. We have the ability, which could be great for spiritual mind treatments, for example. We have the ability for a consolidated inbox. So right now, maybe you have a Facebook page that you're getting messages in, and maybe you have an Instagram that you're getting messages in, and then you have email, and you have to log into 3 different places for it. And maybe with Facebook, you have to 2-factor in because there's multiple people in the same place, or you haven't figured out how to share a page between people. This gives you that consolidated inbox where you can talk with everybody. You can assign it to someone to go and respond to specifically as well. There's so much you can do here, and we can help you with the setup of those sorts of things. And then as you build out a contact in here, and I'll show you an example of a calendar at some point, just so you can kind of have a look and see how that works for things. But as you build out a contact in here, you can add information about them. And so as you have that, you then know how to connect with them. If they've come to a spiritual mind treatment that's been booked through here, you can see if they're having increased need for spiritual mind treatment, and if they're still coming to service, those sorts of things. It's an amazing opportunity to truly know who we're working with and how to connect with. We do train on customer avatar. It certainly is a space. But we always talk about, if you had to sell to your brother or your sister, it would be the easiest person to sell to, because you know everything about them. And the more we can know about people, what they do for work. We used to have a ballet studio we exited out of last year. And one of the parents comes to tell us at some point that he was a lighting and sound guy. And I'm just like, well, why didn't you come and tell us that before we just put on this big performance? The more we know about people that we can tap into, oh, you're a general contractor, we need to do this. You don't have to do it for free, but we can have a conversation around those things. And we just don't know enough about people, and we don't necessarily have time. And you have a conversation with one person within a center, and how does that message get back? Does it get to someone else? Is that information stored centrally, so everyone knows that Christoph trains fire people, or so-and-so used to be a chef, or all of these sorts of things kind of come together. We can still see my screen here, right? I'm just checking here.
Yes.
So we have the ability to create beautiful email campaigns inside of the platform to post to all of your social media accounts from one place. You can literally set up all your posts to schedule email campaigns in here, which can be designed, drag and drop design. We always say the less stuff you have in an email, the better it is from a deliverability perspective in terms of images, in terms of links. But sometimes if it's your audience, you might just want to, throw in a logo and personalize it for your audience specifically. And it's just as simple as doing what I just did there, and then editing and then choosing an image and then dropping it in on the top there, and you're into a space where you're creating. I'm going to come out of that and not change it, but just as an example here, so many different things you can do in here that make things work, and then adding things together on the back end. So we call them automations. They're workflows. So they're things like, if this happens, do this. So for example, if you have a form that we put on your website, or create a new website with a form on the back of it, if someone requests a spiritual mind treatment, well, what happens? Do we notify the spiritual director? Do we notify the main minister? What are the steps to help that person get the help that they need at that moment, have the person to talk to at that moment? How do we have those? Or does it go into an inbox that sits there for 3 weeks, and by the time we get to that person, they just feel neglected? They feel like they reached out in the time. And it happens. It happens. We were guilty of it. I'll put our hand up. I'll be vulnerable. We were guilty of it before we had systems in place for these sorts of things.
I want to share a real quick example of that, Steve. We were using Google Forms to do our volunteer form, and there was one small little mistake, and nobody was being informed when a submission came in. I was not being informed when a submission came in, and we had a number of people that were interested that we were unable to connect with because we had neglected them in that way. And one of the first things I did with this platform was set up a new volunteer submission form. And now not only am I informed, others are informed, and the system automatically acknowledges that person with an email that we can change, control, and change as we go. As we realize it's something else wants to happen. It's been really impactful already for us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just showing here an example of a volunteer resources page that you might set up, which, is somewhere for people to get started on things. And anything that's on here can be done internally, or it can be done externally. So it can be linked to an outside domain, but you can also take advantage of, we have a membership section. I think I saw Edward down there has a membership side of things. So what this actually enables you to do is have internal communities. So you can have discussion groups around a book, around a course, around a service. You can have communities set up that people can talk. You can have one internally for your ministers to talk in, your volunteers to talk in, all of these sorts of things. You guys are getting the best version of this. We did this the other day, and I'm doing it so much better today. I'm better in the morning. But you have the ability to do courses. So you can do a live course that you're updating things in here. But you can have it as an evergreen course. I think if anyone's trying to bring in new people, some free meditations that people can get access to for their email, put some meditations in there, maybe some breath work, maybe there's a sound healing you could put in there. They're great ways of doing things. And it's a very simple course builder in here. You come in, you build a product, and then you create an offer around it. And so I'm just happen to be finalizing, going through the end of a 4 agreements course over here. So that's one that's on my heart, but you can literally come in here and set up a course. I'm just going to show you, and this works well for practitioners as well if you're looking to do these sorts of things. Lots of ability to do. And so you can set it up with the various categories in it. You can build in certificates on the back end if it counts towards practitioner training potentially. I know there's a couple of institutions that help with that. And then I'm just going to drop in here and just show how quickly you can add a video. So you can upload a video, you can upload audio too. So up to 5 gigabytes there in terms of that. So you might need to compress something or keep them at a shorter level, but uploading audio is a great way of doing things as well. So one thing, I don't know who here streams their Facebook, but Facebook changed the way that Facebook Lives are going to be removed after 30 days. I know Robert knows all about that.
Yep.
So you've got a choice. You either put them back, download them and then upload them onto Facebook, but it might be a great place to throw them into a portal such as this and then allow discussion around it. Because honestly, it's great to listen to the message, but we have to treat and move our feet. The law of attraction requires action as well. Action's a key part of the word attraction, right?
And I've been long saying I don't believe Facebook is the place for us to build community, folks. And there's other alternatives, and the ability to build numerous communities within this platform is key as well. And if you have a really great video, hey, let's ask people to make a $2 or $3 donation for that video. Put some value on it. Let them know that you value the work that you're putting out into the world. And I am finding that people are more than happy to support that. And it's one of those ways you can turn your best content into a product really, really quickly and really, really easily with this.
As I said, we're not inviting you just to have a product here. We're inviting you to be part of a movement, to rise, to help all ships rise, right? To be part of the tide. And there's always going to be ways for collaboration. We might have an amazing 4 agreements class that we might be able to figure out some sort of licensing agreement. So it might be made by one church. We might be able to put in a central platform, and then there's be some sort of monetary compensation for the church who's not doing it, because we know that not every spiritual center is an Agape or a Mile High. Not everyone has 500 people banging down the door. Edward, it's does everything that Kajabi does. What makes it different is that you have the integration with the CRM. And so you can use text messaging and things like that. Kajabi's behind on that. We do a lot of work with Kajabi people, just as a side. We don't force anyone to move into any platform either. I just want to be very clear about that. So you have the ability as well to manage reputation. So you can manage your Google My Business listings and things like that. And then we have a good support system to help you do things here. And so that's just scratching the surface of a few things that we do here. But, I want to be mindful of people's time here and kind of roll into, ways to get involved with this project and be a part of it. So I believe, Robert, you've got a slide there that kind of just talks through the different options in terms of getting started. So, we're looking to price this to be really reasonable and to help people get started. So we kind of have this solo spiritual guide, because we know that maybe ministers have a spiritual counseling business as well. And so for the solo spiritual guide, $97 a month enables you to do the CRM, you do your email, your social media management. Pipelines are essentially just a board that you can drag people across as you see them through the various pieces. You can build your website, you can build funnels, you can do text messaging, bookings, appointments. I did promise that I would show a booking calendar. I'm just going to throw up my calendar here in a minute, so we can show that afterwards. So we have that, and then for the smaller centers, 147, it includes the basic things, or 197, which includes the course platform and everything like that. This shouldn't be a cost for you. It should be a way for you to monetize your community and build your connection. $197 a month for us, it's a rock bottom price that we've put together to really help centers. We will be building a community with it as well to help people do this, and we're going to add things constantly. So we've got some AI things that are on our roadmap to build in, so that we can help you create things better, quicker, descriptions for classes, all of these sorts of things. And then I'm just going to quickly share what a calendar looks like, because I think this is, for me, this is one of the most impactful things when we demo this to people outside of New Thought is this is our main business, but this is all built on the same platform. So here's how you would book a call with me. Beautiful thing, you could easily set this up for a spiritual mind treatment. You can have multiple people, and you could choose who you want your spiritual mind treatment with, and then you choose a day and a time, and then you come through and it collects all the information that you want to collect from someone. These are all 100% personalized, so it replaces a Calendly or an Acuity if you're using any of those sorts of things. In fact, it pretty much replaces everything. Maybe you need Canva still. Everything else is pretty much there. Maybe some streaming software as well. All those sorts of things kind of come into place here. So
that's what I've been noticing, Steve, is every time I turn around and Spirit says, go do this, I jump in and I get started and I find my way and I realize that's a whole nother platform that I'm paying for on a monthly or sometimes even an annual basis. And I can just eliminate because here it is in here. And now I don't have to cross over from one platform to another, one software to another. I can let all that stuff go. And my experience so far is it's been real easy to transfer over from what I've already got to getting started in here. Can you talk about that for just a quick minute for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to talk about something else because something you just said there was really relevant for me. One of the greatest things with this system is the ability for us to copy from one account to another account. So let's say, for example, you create an amazing volunteer email sequence and you've got your center in Massachusetts. Sherry, right? You were going for the
Yeah.
Massachusetts space. And you're like, I created this. If anyone wants it, let me know. Speak to us and we can transfer it from one account to another. We can literally share a website template, an email template, a course outline. If you want to record your own video, we can do that. If someone wants to, and again, it's that rising tide because we truly have the ability to copy and paste from account to account, which is very unique. You can't go and do that with a MailChimp or something like that. It's because we're at the top of this and we can facilitate the coordination between accounts. In terms of getting started, if what you've seen here you're just like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to go play with it, etc., you can hop across to imc .ruleyourbusiness.com/info. I did that, and that's going to take you into the website to get started and get set up. And then Heather is on the call here. She's my Rule Your Business guru. We launched this platform 5 years ago. I made a hell of a mess of it, and Heather, who's also, it's funny because I never put I until now I've never been like, I'm spiritual. But the number of spiritual people we've attracted in our business, it's kind of crazy. Heather, tarot, pendulums, crystals. I'm here with my crystals and my sage. It's divine how we were brought together in the same way that Robert and I were brought together. I just, even looking at our regular client base, we have an annuities guy who you wouldn't ever think, and he lives in Tennessee in a very religious Bible Belt area. And he's like, no, I meditate. I've got a coach from the Deepak Chopra Institute. I'm just like, of course you have.
Of course.
Of course you have. I should maybe be talking about this more on the front end because we are bringing people in. But so great support for you on those sorts of things. Flip side, you might want extra help with this. We're here to help you do that. So if you want a custom build out, we are here to help do that. We can figure out payment plans, etc., to make it affordable for your center so that you can have everything set up the way that you want it. We understand everybody works differently. And while some centers might have someone who's a tech guru who can go in and figure things out and hook things up, and there's always the support of those side of things, you might just be like, you know what, it would be amazing if we could just have this set up in a way. And the templates that we've shown you will all be able to be put into your account, no cost or anything like that. We're not trying to make money on those. It's just like, here's some things. Here's a donation form. Change out your logo on it, and then you're away. We've got systems in place to get you started and get you making money on this platform quickly, and to connect with people. So, but if you do want to hop on a call with us, Robert and I have a shared calendar that we'll drop a link for that somewhere. Do you have that one too, Robert? I think that's, it's on that slide there. Book a call. So book.impactmarketingcollective.com /consultation. And absolutely go ahead and book a call with us. We would love to spend time in your energy on this and figuring out how we can help you move forward with it. And as I said, even if you just want to have a bit more clarification on something, you want to talk to us about your existing tech stack, etc., happy to do that, and happy to find out ways that we can connect and truly build these communities.
It's an important time, and folks, I trust you can start to see a little bit of why I'm so excited that I was introduced to Steve, and that we've had this opportunity to come together and present something really, really powerful. So, Steve, before we let everybody get out of here, let's go over the overall total value of what we're talking about here, just again for people.
Yeah, just kind of running through some different systems of what you might expect to pay for something like this if you built it in different in your own way. So, you might pay $99 for a donor volunteer management system, a CRM side of things there. You might pay $39. You might pay 97 or 197. I don't know who you're using for email, but some platforms have gone crazy high with prices, and some are even charging a per email feature. You might pay for a website builder. You might pay for website hosting, funnel platform, text messaging. Text messaging is really powerful, and you can automate text messages. So even your volunteers, you can be like, okay, thank you for signing up for this. And now as a result of it, they'll get a notification the day before. Don't forget you're volunteering tomorrow. You can set all of those sorts of things up so that you don't have any of those issues. We love business problems, and we love to solve business problems. And spiritual business problems are still business problems, and we're here for those. Social media, booking appointments. This is replacing Calendly. It's replacing Hootsuite or whatever social media scheduling platform you're using. It's replacing Kajabi. It's replacing Thinkific or any other of these forms of things. And what's better is you have a more rounded product, so you can see, okay, this person took 4 agreements, this person did this, they're giving $100 a month, and here's an idea of the value. That the basic package, if you bought all of those softwares individually, would cost you about $430 a month minimum, and we don't put the limits on it the same way. And then if you want to book a call with us, there's the number. Thank you for hanging out a little later. We are both talkers and love being, and when we have good energy, and thank you for your energy. Thanks for showing up, Edward and Sherry. And it's great to have all of you here, Carl and Lynn and Deborah. It's great to be in your energy, and hopefully we've given you some ideas of what you can do, and then more so what you could be doing to increase your impact. And that's what we're here for. And if you have any questions, I know people have been asking them as we've been going along, and we've kind of been responding to them. But feel free to drop them in the comments here, or connect with Robert or myself afterwards.
Folks, we probably do have just a couple minutes if there's any last minute questions, but if you want to book a call with us, by all means, click on that link. Or send an email to us. You should receive a replay of this in just a few moments on an email as well, and you're welcome to respond to that. Whatever it would be, the recording of this is going to be available immediately, so we'll help you. If you've got board members or others you want to see this, let us know. We'll make sure that we can get you the recording. But really, the best thing to do, book a call. Let's look at what is your unique case scenario. What is it that is most going to be most impactful for you, and get you involved with what we're doing here. I fully believe it's going to be a game changer for all of it. And that's not a term I use lightly, but it has been already for me and for what we're doing with New Thought Media Network. You're going to see a lot of things looking a lot more professional and acting a lot more connective from New Thought Media Network, thanks to our relationship here with Steve. So thank you all again. If you're done for the day, get on out of here, book a call. If there's any last minute questions, just drop them in the comments, and we'll vamp for another minute or two. But Lynn, thank you for being with us here. Grateful you got a chance to be a part of what we're doing. Sherry, thank you. Good to see you. Brother Eamon, yes, I'm looking forward to sharing with you all this can do, because Eamon, you're going to love this. This is going to be great. You're going to love this. So, all right. Steve, thank you so much. I did put it in my notes, an AI and New Thought webinar. So I think that means you and I are going to have to get together real soon again, too.
See us at the end of March, guys, and bring people. Honestly, I'm gonna blow your minds.
Okay, it will not. We're gonna keep doing these, and they're not going to be the same. I like that.
No.
All right, folks, We're out of here for now. Until next time, wishing you peace and richest blessings.